In 1995, the Hubble Space Telescope took one of the most famous photos in the history of mankind. This photograph is called the Pillars of Creation. It depicts unique gas and dust formations resembling the twisted fingers of a space giant. But few people know that these pillars are only part of an even more majestic nebula, which in turn is just one of the hundreds of stunning cosmic nebulae. How come there are shapes similar to Earth flowers and animals in space? Is it true that the pillars of creation are already destroyed? Besides, what's the reason for the breathtaking diversity of cosmic nebulae? Many of these structures appear after the death of stars when they first expand and then shed off their outermost layers. As a rule, it all results in such a trivial bubble-shaped planetary nebula even without a special name. But what will happen if one of the two binary stars dies? The wings of a butterfly are located 2,100 light-years from Earth. Each of them is 20 times bigger than our solar system. The dying star's partner scattered its matter that far. It's basically a hot gas smoothie from a space boulder. But slowly, dying stars produce even more bizarre shapes. What is it? Which is it, a glowing eye or a dandelion? Astronomers call this nebula, located 6,500 light-years from Earth, by both names. It's unique because of the illumination provided by the extremely rare and very massive Wolf-Rayet star. It remains hot and bright even after shedding its outer layers, hence the beautiful illumination. But how extensive are such nebulae compared to the famous pillars of creation? These clouds of gas and dust stretch roughly 4 to 5 light-years. Thus, both the wings of a butterfly and the dandelion are more than 3 times smaller than the pillars. But let me remind you that all these structures are many times larger than our solar system. But fairly massive stars leave behind more extensive nebulae. Giant luminaries explode with tremendous force, throwing their matter light-years away and form a special nebula type. This is a typical supernova remnant, a symmetrical bubble a few light-years across, but almost 1,500 light-years away. Astronomers, to their surprise, spotted this ragged, irregularly shaped veil. It's a vacuum-frozen shockwave of an exploded star 20 times as massive as our Sun. But why don't we see the usual ground bubble here, but just some rags? In fact, nothing is missing. It's just that the remnant of this supernova can be viewed in its entirety only in ultraviolet. It's now known as the Cygnus Loop, after the constellation's name. However, the cool body of the star, the center of the nebula, hasn't been detected so far. It's probably a very compact neutron star, or even a black hole. This famous supernova remnant is so picturesque because of the activity of its core. This is the Crab Nebula, around 70 light-years away. In fact, the fashionable nickname Neon Pulsar would be a better fit for it. After all, it's the bright pulse of radiation of a young neutron star that ionizes the gas clouds of this supernova remnant, turning them into the semblance of a neon lamp. The Crab Nebula is easily spotted against the background of the Pillars of Creation. Moreover, it's still expanding. However, the Veil Nebula visible to us is at least 10 times the size of the Pillars of Creation and is about as wide as the Eagle Nebula to which the pillars belong. And yet, it's not the veil that captures our imagination, but the pretentious Pillars of Creation. So how were such unusual structures formed? And won't they disappear in the near future? The Pillars of Creation, 7,000 light-years away from Earth, are neither a planetary nebula nor a supernova remnant. It's an interstellar cloud of gas and dust composed mostly of hydrogen. There are many similar formations in our galaxy, but why is it only here that almost identical finger columns were formed next to each other? Infrared telescopes have shown that each of these structures is more like a termite mound. That's because the pillars harbor space cradles where new stars are being born right now. Hence the name the Pillars of Creation. And once, long ago, a powerful light from the first newborn stars made huge parallel holes in the originally shapeless cloud. That's basically light, dispersing the foam in the tub with your movements, and sooner or later, the Pillars of Creation will also dissolve completely. and some astronomers believe the majestic pillars are already long gone. But how is that possible if we can see them right now? The pillar destruction theory states that a supernova exploded near them 6,000 years ago and blew them to bits almost immediately. But due to the 70 light-year distance, we see the pillars still intact, and their destruction will become visible on Earth with a delay of another 10 years. It's just the blink of an eye in astronomical terms. Just think how lucky we are to see these structures now. Of course, if the destruction theory is true, to test this theory, Hubble took new pictures of the pillars of creation in 2015. Astronomers have long and carefully searched them for evidence of the first phase of destruction, but it turns out that the gas clouds have hardly changed. This means that most likely there was no supernova explosion, and the pillars of creation can still be photographed for many thousands of years to come. But some picturesque cosmic nebulae are not so easy to see in detail. Here and there in endless space, we come across pitch-dark clouds of gas and dust that excite our imagination. This nebula, almost 600 light-years from Earth, is commonly called the Kulsik, but ancient people saw here birds of hell, gnarled tree branches, and even the nest of a space monster. At least this cloud in the Orion constellation, situated about 1,400 light-years from Earth, reminds everyone of the same thing. The dark horse head. But what exactly makes this horse so dark? It's just that in addition to hydrogen, such nebulae contain a tremendous amount of dust particles made mostly of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and other substances. Such a cocktail perfectly absorbs almost all visible light, including the light from stars that secretly nest in the dark clouds. Sometimes these luminaries break through their dreary cradles, and that's what happened in the Cone Nebula, 2,700 light-years away from Earth. Here, the stars look like the eyes of a mysterious beast that's about to dive into the abyss of space.